I am honored to celebrate this year's National Jewish Book Award winners. Every year in the United States, hundreds of thousands of books are published. To write one and send it out into the world, and then to see it strike a chord and win acclaim is a very rare accomplishment. Congratulations to all of tonight's winners. Enjoy this special moment.
I want to congratulate my amazing dad, Simon Bronner, on his book, Jewish Cultural Studies. We are all so proud of you. I know how important it is to you to be recognized for contributing to Jewish studies, and you should know that you accomplished something truly incredible. I love you, I'm so proud of you, and I hope you have a happy birthday tomorrow.
On behalf of the Naomi Prower Kadar Foundation, I want to congratulate all the Jewish Book Council's award recipients, especially Editor Extraordinaire Bonnie Fetterman. May you go from strength to strength. Mazel tov.
Hello, my name is Ilana Bell.
And I am Siri Bell Chakrabarty.
And we want to wish Jai Chakrabarty a huge congratulations on winning the National Jewish Book Award for debut fiction. We are so, so proud of you. You want to say anything to Daddy?
Congratulations! Exclamation point! Done!
We love you.
We've followed their careers since they first arrived at Stony Brook in 2001. And over the years, they've impressed us not only with their scholarly excellence, but the timeliness, the thoroughness of their research. And we count ourselves especially lucky to be their good friends.
You guys are both great.
Hi, I'm Isabel Kaplan, and I want to congratulate James Macaulay, this year's winner in history. Jake, you're a brilliant writer and a thoughtful historian, and it's been a privilege to see this project evolve into the incredible book it is today. Congratulations. I am so, so proud of you.
Hello, this is Liz Denlinger. I'm here to wish Mazel Tov to my wife, Joy Layden, who won the National Jewish Book Award for the Book of Anna this year. Yay! Okay.
Mazel Tov! And congratulations from your favorite living Jews. We love you.
Hello, my name is Lisa Weimer, and I'm a JBC Network author of the novel The Assignment. I'm here to congratulate my dear friend, Nancy Chernin, on her picture book win, a picture book that empowers all of us to speak out against anti-Semitism. In addition, a huge congratulations to all the winners.
Congratulations, Nathaniel.
Congratulations, Abba.
On your wonderful award.
We're so proud of you.
We love you and are so proud of you.
Congratulations on your National Jewish Book Award. Mazel Tov.
Yo soy la madre de Daniela Flesler. Quería felicitar a Daniela y a Adrián porque este libro es un gran espejo que refleja todos los viajes que ellos hicieron a España, pero siempre con un objetivo, develar la historia del pueblo judío tan escondida y tan ocultada.
I am Daniela's father. They wrote the book, The Memory Work of Jewish Pain. I am impressed, especially for a phrase in the book, regarding the expulsion and the conversos and so on in Spain. They said, and what if we haven't left? For me, this is a light in the shade.
My name is Cindy Chabrou, and I'm the director here at the Charles Dickens Museum in London. And on behalf of all of us, I'd love to congratulate Nancy Chernin on winning a National Jewish Book Award for her wonderful book, Dear Mr. Dickens.
Good evening, everyone. On behalf of the Baru Poetry Prize, my family and I congratulate all the winners tonight. And a heartfelt thank you to our friend Naomi Firestone Teeter, who's the heart and soul of the JBC.
I'm Lois Bodig, Bonnie Fetterman's sister, and I've seen Bonnie give it her all on every project. No one could be more generous. Congratulations, Bonnie.
There is no frigate like a book, wrote Dickinson. Thank you for the journey, and congratulations.
We're Carol and Irv Smokler, Aaron's in-laws, and we just want to say congratulations, Aaron, on a job well done. What a timely book, and it's so beautifully written and done. Great job.
Kol hakavod.
So proud of you. Take care. Bye-bye.
I'm Harold Fetterman, Bunny's brother.
And I'm Susan Fetterman, Bonnie's sister-in-law.
Every week we use Bunny's books in our Bible and Midrash classes.
Congratulations, Bonnie, on this wonderful award.
I am Jonathan Petropoulos. I am Wendy Lauer's colleague at Claremont McKenna College and also her partner. Congratulations, Wendy, on winning the National Jewish Book Award. Such an extraordinary honor. So congratulations on this award, on this well-deserved award. I'm so proud of you.
As a judge for the 71st Annual National Jewish Book Awards, I want to congratulate all the winners this year and tell you that your work is very important for our community, and we are very proud to honor you today.
Congratulations to the winners and the finalists for the 2021 National Jewish Book Awards. What an honor. This was an amazing year and such amazing books.
Hi there, I am Michael Granberry, the husband of Nancy Chernin, who has written a terrific book called Dear Mr. Dickens about how one woman, Eliza Davis, changed the heart of a great man, Charles Dickens. It is a story about racism, but it has a happy ending.
Dear Ima, you are the ultimate Ima and Savta, and also a passionate and noted historian. We are incredibly proud of you for your double awards, which you so richly deserve.
May you continue to be an inspiring role model for us all in good health. With all our love, Ronnie, Caroline, and the children and grandchildren.
Mazal Tov.
Hello, I am Joseph Telushkin. I'm a member of the Board of Directors of the Jewish Book Council, and something I take great pride in. And I'm very joyous tonight with the awarding of the Jewish Book Council awards to all of you who have been winners. In a month, we'll be celebrating Pesach, and of course, one of the primary mitzvot, commandments associated with Pesach is mitzvah l'saper. It's a commandment to tell the story. And I sort of feel that that's exactly who I'm speaking here tonight, the sort of people who are telling the story, whether it be in fiction, whether it be in nonfiction. And that's a real commandment that you're fulfilling. And to sort of inaugurate the evening, obviously, when we give a toast, we always say l'chaim, but I want to have an additional toast. All of you have written a book. I want you to know that we here at the Jewish Book Council and a lot of other people, we're all starting tonight to await your next book. You've written an award-winning book. We want to see more such books written. Thank you, and join me in a toast. I'll make a bracha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei pri hagafen, l'chaim.
Welcome to the 71st Annual National Jewish Book Awards. I'm Jane Weitzman, President of the Jewish Book Council. It is an honor to be with you tonight as we recognize our 2021 winners. All of you know the transformative power of a great book. And these past 2 years, it has been inspiring to see the community come together for a record number of literary events supporting authors and ideas and partnering across the field to uplift Jewish literature. With its work, Jewish Book Council harnessed the power of the virtual space to imagine new conversations and ways in which to bring writers and readers together, supporting a truly global community. This evening, we are proud to recognize the achievements of authors who have made a vital contribution to the Jewish literary canon. Joining 7 decades of luminaries whose works have shaped and continue to shape our understanding of Jewish life, identity, history, and culture. With their immaculate research, impressive scholarship, and engaging storytelling, we are honored to elevate and support our winning authors and their work. I want to thank Naomi Firestone Teeter, our exceptional executive director, and her dedicated staff, especially Evie Sapphire Bernstein, our director of programs. And to Miri, Suzanne, Carol, Becca, Simona, Megan, and Ariel, I am so grateful to all of you for your incredible efforts and dedication. All of this work would not have been possible without Jewish Book Council's remarkable board of directors, who play a vital role with their continued support and guidance to the organization. Thank you all for your generosity. I would also like to thank all of you in our audience who have supported us by becoming members. And for those of you who are with us for the first time, we hope that you will consider becoming a member to ensure that the Jewish Book Council continues to educate, enrich, and strengthen our community through books. And now I would like to introduce Naomi Firestone Teeter, our outstanding and exceptional executive director.
Thank you so much, Jane, for your beautiful introduction and your inspired leadership. Under your charge, Jewish Book Council has flourished and expanded, and I know how grateful all of us are to have your dedicated support of the Jewish literary landscape. You're truly one of a kind. And now it's my turn to welcome all of you to the 71st National Jewish Book Awards. Tonight's winning books take us across the globe and across time, illuminating the lives of brave Jewish women who took the course of history into their own hands, the role of art in the face of oppression, and what Judaism and history can teach us about responding to the crises of the moment. They confront anti-Semitism and bring fresh and inventive ideas to light through fiction, reframing the past to help us better understand ourselves and the world in which we live. These books have been written by storytellers, thinkers, and scholars, and we are enriched by their words and ideas. And while these books may have been written in a more solitary state, the act of publishing is a communal affair, bringing together a village of dedicated individuals to ensure that these books find their readers and their place on the shelves of libraries and personal collections. Jewish Book Council is proud to work alongside publishers, editors, librarians, educators, and programmers to elevate and amplify these important works and spark conversations that challenge our thinking, expand and transform our hearts and minds, and yes, entertain. Throughout the course of this evening, you'll learn more about our winning titles, and I hope you'll be inspired to add new books to your own reading list and to share with others. We each have an important role to play in the literary ecosystem to ensure that authors are supported and that readers from all over the world are aware of the important voices contributing to the field today. At Jewish Book Council, this past year, we arranged a record number of literary events for our partners, nearly 1,400, and worked with a record number of authors, over 280. We provided book club discussion questions, reviews, and essays to nearly 600,000 readers. We published our literary journal, Paper Brigade, hosted publishing seminars for writers, and meetups for readers. And this evening, we're thrilled to recognize the literary achievements of our 2021 National Jewish Book Award winners. This work would not have been possible without JBC's incredible board of directors, who gave guidance and support at every turn, and without JBC's remarkable staff, whose thoughtful approach to every book, to every author, and every program make Jewish Book Council what it is today. I admire your commitment to ensuring that a wide range of Jewish books and ideas make their way into readers' homes. Finally, thank you to the over 100 2021 National Jewish Book Award judges who donated their time to carefully consider nearly 700 submissions. While it's a rich and rewarding process, we also know it can be challenging, and we're grateful for the important work that you put into determining the literary honors that we celebrate here tonight. And now for a few housekeeping notes before the program begins. Before each of our winners speak, they will be introduced by a member of Jewish Book Council's Board of Directors. When we announce a winner, we will add a link in the chat to their book's page on Jewish Book Council's website, which includes the judges' full remarks as well as options to purchase the winning title. If you have any words of congratulations for our winners, please feel free to use the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen. In addition, closed captions for this program are available by pressing that feature at the bottom of your screen. And with that, I hope you enjoy the 71st National Jewish Book Awards.
It is my honor to present the American Jewish Studies Celebrate 350 Award to Nathaniel Deutsch and Michael Casper for their work of Fortress in Brooklyn, Race, Real Estate, and the Making of Hasidic Williamsburg. The spellbinding narrative explores how a small community of post-Holocaust Hasidim developed through the decades and thrived in Brooklyn. With a decade of research and numerous interviews with members of the Satmar community, the authors have written an engaging work that captures the remarkable story of this little understood community. As our judges noted, the authors bring their impressive training and sensitivity to the religion, language, and culture of the Satmar Hasidic community of Williamsburg to craft this compelling history that has previously eluded other scholars. Mazal tov.
The Hasidic community of Williamsburg is located in the heart of New York City, right across the East River from Lower Manhattan. Every day, thousands of people cross the Williamsburg Bridge and catch a glimpse of the Hasidic enclave. Others drive, walk, or cycle through the neighborhood itself, and yet most know almost nothing about its Hasidic residents. One of the ways that I first learned about the community was that our second daughter, Tamar, was born with the help of a midwife who had delivered more than 3,000 babies to Hasidic women in the community, and that's one of the reasons why this book will always be very close to my own heart. The goal of our book is to shed light on the remarkable history and complicated precedent of Hasidic Williamsburg, which is part of a broader Haredi community that in the future will likely transform much of Jewish life in the United States, Israel, and elsewhere around the globe. Thank you for recognizing the importance of this subject and for honoring our book.
Thank you so much. Nathaniel and I are incredibly honored to receive the National Jewish Book Award. We put in over a decade of work into crafting this book. We conducted countless interviews. We read countless Hasidic newspapers and rabbinic treatises, and it's extremely gratifying to receive this recognition after so many years of work. So thank you again.
Hi, everyone. I'm Lenore Weitzman, one of the vice presidents of the Jewish Book Council, and it is a great pleasure to present Sherry Turkle with the Autobiography and Memoir Award for Empathy Diaries. Sherry is well known for her path-breaking work on how computers have transformed our lives, and she has been called the Margaret Mead of digital culture. But this deeply personal and intimate book tells a very different story about the early years of her life when she was growing up in a family of Jewish immigrants in America. Sherry was not an immigrant, but the adults who raised her, her mother, her beloved grandparents, and her aunt were all immigrants. And her book beautifully captures the rich nuances of their lives and the tensions that they always felt, wanting so badly to belong and yet feeling that they never quite belonged. It was a tension that stayed with Sherry throughout her life, even as she outwardly appeared to achieve the American dream, first as a student at Harvard and then as a professor at MIT. Her book will endure as a profound portrait of Jewish immigrants, a story that is increasingly relevant today. We congratulate you, Sherry, with a very warm Mazal Tov for a truly wonderful book.
I wrote the Empathy Diaries because I had always wanted to put together the story of my life and my passion for my work. My preoccupation with empathy had come from not having had enough of it as a child. The more I got into the writing of the book, the more I traced my family's rigidity and inability to show empathy back to my family's Jewish anxieties. Our home was gated out of fear. Strangers were not welcome. When an outsider had to come to the door, let's say to fix the plumbing, my grandparents dressed and sat on the edges of the furniture. They got ready irrationally for a plumber as though he might have been a soldier coming to take them away. I internalized their fears, even in Brooklyn in the 1950s, where they corresponded to other people's stories and other people's memories. My memoir, The Empathy Diaries, is the story of how I moved beyond them. When I wrote my story of Fortress Bonowitz in Brooklyn, I was thinking of Judaism and its transmission of trauma across generations. But these days, as the Ukrainian tragedy unfolds, I think of how that sense of terror when a door knocks tragically now extends to a new generation in another place. I wrote a book about how love and empathy can help us move beyond trauma, but more than ever, I'm aware of the universality of my theme. Thank you.
Helene Wecker has done it again. Her brilliant sequel to The Golem and the Jinni, The Hidden Palace, is taking home tonight's Miller Family Book Club Award in memory of my mother, Helen Weinstein, and my mother-in-law, June Miller. Her new work will captivate those of you who loved her first work, along with those newcomers who will enjoy her storytelling and imagination. Set in New York in the 1900s, it follows the journey of a golem and a genie and the challenges of living among humans, presenting issues and themes that, despite a historical backdrop, will resonate with contemporary readers. Our judges called the work thoroughly engrossing and richly told. And Helene, I am proud to present to you this award this evening. Mazel tov.
First of all, thank you. My deepest thanks. It is an absolute honor to receive this award. After my first book, The Golem and the Genie, was published, I had quite a few readers tell me that they never would have picked up a novel about two imaginary creatures if their book club hadn't chosen it. But you surprised me, they would say. You made them feel like real people. These readers, who'd taken a chance on a fantastic tale of monsters in old New York, were the ones I had foremost in my mind when I decided to continue the story of Chava and Ahmad in The Hidden Palace. I wondered, could I keep the spell going? Could I deepen and complicate their lives and give them new hurdles and new battles, while still, in the end, making them feel like real people? I'm grateful to know that the answer, apparently, was yes. Because of Chava and Ahmad, I've gotten to speak with book clubs around the country. I've had fantastic Zoom discussions about history and folklore and what it's like to look at human nature from an outsider's perspective. I spoke recently with a club led by Rabbi Alyssa Mendelson of Port Jewish Center in New York. During the discussion, the rabbi remarked that part of her job is to attempt to reconcile the constantly changing with the ever constant. I've been thinking about that ever since. Perhaps these books are my own small attempt at the same. Thank you.
Dear Mr. Dickens is a timely story about a young mother writing Mr. Dickens about his negative portrayal of Jews in his writing. Her character was proper and bold for her days, and the topic is relevant today. The beautifully written book is enhanced by the delightful illustration that warms the pages. Young readers and their families will take away pride and appreciation for speaking up to negative imagery and prejudice. I am honored to present this National Jewish Book Award for Children's Picture Book to Nancy Chernin and Bethany Stancliffe. Please join me with admiration and gratitude. Thank you.
My earliest memories are of my mother, Flora Chernin, reading to me. My mother is a retired teacher, and we were always bonded by our love of books. But our first rift came about when she saw me reading Oliver Twist by Charles Dickens. I loved Charles Dickens, and I was shocked when my mother questioned this. But she said to me, how can you admire an author who created the character of Fagin, such an ugly Jewish stereotype? Don't you know that it's because of stereotypes like that kids used to throw garbage at me when I walked to school? That it was stereotypes like this that make people bully and treat and attack Jewish people. I knew she was right, but I knew there had to be more to the story. Charles Dickens had such a big heart. Let's flash forward a number of years, and I had always wished I could have written Charles Dickens a letter asking him why he had compassion for everyone but the Jewish people. Then I discovered that someone had written this letter. Eliza Davis, a courageous Jewish woman, not only had she written him a letter, but she did change his heart. She changed the way he wrote about and thought about Jewish people, and he changed the thoughts and hearts of people in England. I knew I had to write their story, but it was a race for time because it took many years to research and revise and get the right editor and the right illustrator for this story. And also, my mother was in the throes of dementia last year. I knew I had to get this book in her hands. I did get it into her hands when she could still read it. We cried over this book that talks about how it's important that if you speak up, you can change hearts, and that if people's hearts are changed, you do need to forgive. My mother forgave Charles Dickens. She forgave me. We bonded over this book. I thank you so much for this award, for this book that healed the hearts of my mother and me, because I know that this award will help put this in the hands of many other children, and I hope heal their hearts.
When I received the manuscript for Mr. Dickens, I connected to Eliza right away. Everyone, I believe, has an opportunity to stand up for what's right, and I loved how Eliza used her talent of writing to make an impact, just as I hope to use my artwork to make an impact as I worked on this book. And throughout the illustration process, plenty of research was prepared to make sure the artwork accurately portrayed the settings and the characters. And Eliza would have lived at a time when her Jewish culture was assimilated, but we wanted to keep important details, such as the way that she dressed modestly and the Shabbat candles on the mantle. Another important element of the story I wanted to portray in my work was the presence of her young son. And at the time of illustrating this book, I had a 2-year-old son running around and often used him for reference as I painted. And I believe motherhood has a unique way of teaching us the value of doing what's right to protect future generations. And Eliza's story is one that will help evoke compassion and bravery in a world that really needs it. And I'm so grateful to have had the opportunity to be a part of bringing this important story to the world.
It is my honor to present the Contemporary Jewish Life and Practice Myra H. Kraft Memorial Award to Dara Horn for her fascinating and insightful book, People Love Dead Jews, Reports from a Haunted Present. With her keen eye for detail and penetrating storytelling, Horn explores and highlights an under-recognized form of anti-Semitism, how dead Jews are tokenized with their personal stories and histories erased. Horn, as our judges remark, quote, adds a new perspective to existing writing that highlights the myriad of ways in which anti-Semitic tropes and biases affect how people see living Jewish communities, unquote. I am so pleased to welcome Dara Horn to accept this award. Mazel tov.
Thank you so much. I am so thrilled to be here. I'm Dara Horn, and I am the author of People Love Dead Jews, and I still can't believe that my publisher let me keep that title. I am now hoping that now that People Love Dead Jews has won a National Jewish Book Award, that I can now convince my publisher to make merch for this book. Coffee mugs, tote bags, beach towels. No one is taking your seat at the pool with your Adventures with Dead Jews beach towel. And I'm making this point because I think if you find this title uncomfortable, you will be even more uncomfortable with what you find inside the book. And this is entirely intentional because in my 20 years as an author, I've discovered that the uncomfortable moments are where the story is. The premise of this book is that people tell stories about dead Jews that make them feel better about themselves, and that actual Jews are often required to erase themselves and their culture in order for non-Jews to tell those feel-good stories. I think there's a lot of irony in accepting this award for contemporary Jewish life and practice with a book called People Love Dead Jews. But in fact, my goal here is to flip the narrative toward creativity and courage and resilience. So I want to thank all of you living Jews out there, especially those of you on the Jewish Book Council who were brave enough to open a book called People Love Dead Jews. I hope that you will eventually close it with the words lahavdil that we use for closing far better books. Chazak, chazak, v'nit chazek. Thank you so much.
I have the honor to introduce Jai Chakrabarty, the Goldberg Debut Fiction Award winner for his novel, A Play for the End of the World. The judges were very impressed with his profoundly moving story of the possibility of art offering solace in the face of oppression and catastrophe. Beautifully written, Chakrabarty asked the reader the timeless question, what does it mean to be a person in this world, to love, to remember, and to act on behalf of both justice and decency? Congratulations, Jai.
12 years ago, I was living with my wife Ilana in Jerusalem, and we visited Yad Vashem, where I first encountered the story of Janusz Korczak, a prominent Jewish educator, author, and the head of an orphanage in Warsaw. Korczak had staged a play by Nobel laureate Rabindranath Tagore in 1942, weeks before he and his children would be sent to Treblinka. I remembered this play, The Post Office, from my childhood, having performed it in an Indian school, and I wanted to understand why art would be invoked in this darkest of times. The dedication in my book is to anyone who's crossed a border in search of home. When I wrote that line, I thought how after partition, my mother's family had fled Bangladesh and crossed into India. I thought about Zosha, my wife's grandmother, who survived Auschwitz, was moved to a DP camp, spent a year in Israel, and ended up in Los Angeles, where she made a beautiful life. Now I think about Afghans, Syrians, Ukrainians, and so many others running from one country to another. I think about the survival of history, what's left in our bodies when we cross borders with our stories, some of which we can't tell anyone. Thank you to the Jewish Book Council for recognizing A Play for the End of the World.
I'm pleased to present Simon J. Bronner with the Education and Jewish Identity Award in memory of Dorothy Kripke for his work, Jewish Cultural Studies. Bronner's book in some ways invents a field of Jewish cultural studies and explores a maximalist definition of Jewish culture, making his work, as our judges write, a valuable read for those who seek a deep dive into the intersection between Jewish studies, ethnology, anthropology, and sociology. Bronner argues that Jewish cultural studies needs to find its rightful place as an independent field from the disciplines of Jewish studies and cultural studies, and his work is a remarkable and wonderful resource for all those looking to expand their knowledge, really about Judaism in general. Congratulations, Simon.
Thank you, Jewish Book Council, for this award. I greatly appreciate the designation of education and identity, since I've been a lifelong educator in universities and a documenter of Jewish communities and their cultures around the world. The book centers the understanding of culture and the need to study it at the heart of what it means to be Jewish. It exposes Jewish diversity and the opportunities and challenges that it raises for life in the modern world. It was inspired by Esonsky's guiding principle in launching his Jewish folklife documentary expedition to the Palest settlement 110 years ago. Go out and see what the people do. Yet more than holding an objective distance from my subject, I put myself into this book, and hence after publishing 40 books, it is my most personal and I think most special writing. I've studied other groups objectively with this principle in mind, but returned to Jewish culture at this later stage of my life, contemplating my own identity as the only son of the few surviving parents who came out of the town of Oświęcim, Poland, known to the world as Auschwitz. I could not have written this book earlier in life, but as I traveled and taught in various locations around the world, I increasingly thought of their hanging on to a lost world and urging me to find Jews, whether I was in Japan, the Netherlands, China, Denmark, and even in the state of Indiana. Often with the questions, in Jeden Dorden, are there really Jews there? They understood the empowerment to cultural expression of ritual and lore as part of what Jews call that unbroken chain of Jewish tradition. In that sense, all Jews are folklorists, or need to be reminded of it because of the basis of tradition and expressing identity. That was the part of the book looking to the past. But I also contemplated the future as I'm immersed in technology as we are today, and confronted virtual seders and gatherings with my own diasporized family in Australia, Europe, Israel, and the United States. This book was an opportunity to tout the chutzpah of Jewish cultural studies, and at the same time, it's a big schlep, but one worth pursuing for Jewish education and identity. Ja, Jiden sind in Dorden. Jews are there. Let's know them from what they do as what they are.
Mazel Tov, Joshua Cohen, author of The Netanyahus, an account of a minor and ultimately even negligible episode in the history of a very famous family, winner of the J.J. Greenberg Memorial Award for Fiction. Your use of language and prodigious lexicon so mesmerized me that I sometimes stopped mid-paragraph to admire a sentence. I jumped back in immediately, next mesmerized by your interlacing of comedy with biting observations on American Jewish identity. The story is fictitious, but not totally. It follows a Jewish professor, an American historian, shoehorned in by virtue of his status as the token Jew on his rural New York college faculty, to serve on his department's hiring committee to evaluate the not so fictitious applicant, member of the tribe, Ben-Zion Netanyahu. Quote, brisk, brilliant, brazen, says one reviewer. Congratulations, Joshua, on this achievement.
Thank you. The Netanyahus, a short book with a very long subtitle, brings together two men, an Israeli historian named Ben-Zion Netanyahu and an American historian named Reuben Blum. Both men, of course, are Jews. When Professor Netanyahu pays a visit to a cow college in rural New York State for a job interview, Professor Blum is conscripted to serve as his host. Though as the only Jew on campus in 1960, Blum often feels like a guest himself. Netanyahu's presence forces Blum into a confrontation with what we now call his identities and the conflicting loyalties they ostensibly demand of him. Loyalties to his family, to his country, to his race, if Judaism is a race, to his religion, if Judaism is a religion, to the democratic, if not merely academic, ideal of fairness, and last but not least, to the college's hiring committee that will have to decide that eternal Jewish question, what to do with the Netanyahu. I wrote this book under the Trump administration and coronavirus lockdown, and here I am accepting an award for it in the midst of a war in which well over 1 million people, including tens of thousands of Jews, have become refugees. Though dizzied and disgusted by this violence, I still think it important to take a moment to acknowledge the integrity of the Jewish Book Council's choice to give its fiction prize to a book whose perceived politics, whose title alone was bound to elicit strong reactions from an already embattled American Jewish community, a community that is once again being impugned and attacked. ועכשיו אני רוצה לומר משהו בשפה שלא צריכה להיות זרה לנו. עתידם של היהודים באמריקה תלוי בתרבות ובספרות, בעיקר באוריינות עברית. אני רוצה להודות למורים שלי לעברית, שביניהם אני כולל סופרים ומשוררים ישראלים ורבנים ורבנות מניו ג'רזי. אני מקדיש להם את הפרס הזה.
It is my pleasure to present the Jane and Stuart Weitzman Family Award for Food Writing and Cookbooks to Esther David for Bon Appetit, the cuisine of Indian Jews. Her work documents the rituals and food of India's diverse Jewish communities and is a travelogue with recipes. Esther, I have spent many wonderful times with the B'nai Israel and other Jewish communities on my visits to India with JDC. Reading your book brought back memories of gracious people and delicious food. Kol HaKavod.
Thank you so much. When I started, I've been writing novels about the Indian Jewish experience of living in India. And through all these years, I had never really decided to write a cookbook. But I saw that in a country where everything is overpowering, as you know, whether it's sort of the crowds, the temples, the different religions, the different communities, the food, and still we are 5,000 Jews in India in 5 regions. And it was very important for me to know as to how do we preserve the sort of the dietary law. Although everything looks very Indian, we look very Indian, and yet we have managed through all these years to preserve our rights, rituals, and every particular sort of dietary law in a perfect way. Often we have, as nothing is available off the rack, our women make things themselves. But slowly with time, we seem to be forgetting that the sort of what was traditionally made, and also because it's not so easy anymore. So I traveled all over India, from Western India to Cochin in South India, Andhra Pradesh, West Bengal, Calcutta, and Northeast, that is Mizoram and Manipur. And all the 5, although regionally they had different languages, different foods, but they kept the dietary law where coconut milk is like a nectar. And I thank you very much for having given me this, for the Jewish Book Council, this award. It's not only for me, but all the 5 communities and the Indian Jews. The award is for everybody because they helped me and they cooperated in writing so that I could write this book. Thank you very much.
I'm pleased to present this year's Gerard and Ella Berman Memorial Award for History to James Macaulay for his book, The House of Fragile Things, Jewish Art Collectors in the Fall of France, which offers a unique glimpse into how the Nazi occupiers of France sought not only to destroy its Jewish population, but also to plunder the treasures of Western art. The work focuses on a smaller number of families, including the Commondos and the Rothschilds, in order to create a portrait of their lives and the role they played in history. As our judges said, The House of Fragile Things is perhaps best described as a work of vast moral grandeur that honors the lives that these important collectors led and the artwork they preserved. Congratulations, James.
Thank you so much, Miri. The book grew out of a visit that I had to the Camondo Museum when I was about 12 years old. The first time I ever went to Paris, where I've now lived for about 6 years. I was dragged there at the end of a long day of sightseeing with my parents. I wasn't really sure what I was getting into. And I was absolutely blown away. So it's, for those of you who have been, or for those of you who have not, it's a small museum by the Parc Monceau, and it's an exquisite art collection of Ancien Régime, 18th century art and objets d'art. And it's an exquisite, absolutely breathtaking collection. But most importantly, it's also the story of a family, a Jewish family originally from Constantinople that came to France. One of the sons died fighting for France in the First World War, and then the rest were all murdered in Auschwitz in the Second World War. And I was just absolutely blown away by that at the time, haunted by it. And I knew then at the young age that I would have to write about it someday. And that became The House of Fragile Things. It was the basis of my PhD dissertation, and it was a sort of odyssey of research for years. And my hope was to restore some of these lost stories. And thank you so much for the award. I'm very honored.
Congratulations to Wendy Lauer, winner of the 2021 National Jewish Book Award for Holocaust Literature, in memory of the beloved Ernie Michel. In The Ravine, A Family, a Photograph, a Holocaust Massacre Revisited, Lauer focuses her attention on the shooting of a family at the edge of a ravine, a single act in the wholesale massacre of Jews in Ukraine, and one that tells the story of the Shoah. The book is tense and intricate as we follow the author through 10 years of meticulous archival research throughout the world. To quote our judges, this riveting work reveals the lives of the innocent mother and her children, the Ukrainian killer who fired the shots, the German officials supervising, and the photographer who captured the scene as an act of resistance. This book is of exceptional scholarship and is also highly readable. Congratulations, Wendy, on your outstanding and important work. Mazal Tov.
Thank you, Jewish Book Council and judges. I could not be more happy and honored and humbled by this award. The ravine focuses on a rare photograph taken in Ukraine, in Mariupol, Ukraine on October 13th, 1941, showing the massacre of a Jewish family. They're surrounded by soldiers, by men in uniform, clustered together with their rifles. It's an image of the act of murder. What we know of is the Holocaust by bullets. It occurred during Hitler's invasion of Ukraine in 1941, the so-called War of Destruction, Vernichtungskrieg. Today, we are witnessing Putin's brutal invasion of Ukraine, opening up another violent chapter in Ukraine's history of occupation and mass atrocities. But as Masha Gessen recently wrote in a New Yorker, history is not destiny. Every image of genocide is a warning to us of how far ideologies of hate, such as racism and anti-Semitism, can go and have gone in subjugating the innocent, devaluing human life, and allowing state-sponsored violence to lead to mass murder. The photograph in the ravine conveys the power of observation, of choosing to look, and to study what is there as evidence and to reclaim the truth. The ravine is also about searching for what we cannot see and are not supposed to see in the history of mass atrocities. Genocidaires, human rights violators, and the governments that sponsor them suppress their crimes as systematically as they commit them. And reconstructing them and restoring their identities is essential for achieving some measure of justice and redress that have been denied the victims and their families. I also have to thank my Ukrainian colleagues, friends, doctoral students, Jewish host families, all of the experts, all of the guides that I had to rely upon, interpreters, to write this history. I could not have done this history without them and access the archives. Starting in summer 1992, the first time I visited Ukraine, I share this award with you, and I hope and pray for the end of this war and for the stopping of your suffering. And I hope to see you all again very soon in Ukraine. Thank you.
I'm happy to present the Middle Grade Literature Award to Gordon Corman for his book, Linked, the story of a peaceful small town whose repressed history becomes relevant when a series of painted swastikas are found at the town's middle school, particularly significant to us in this time of rising anti-Semitic incidents. The hateful symbols affect the lives of a group of middle school students, and in particular, the one Jewish girl in town. The teenagers try to counter the hate with an effort inspired by the famous Paperclip project, creating a paper chain with 6 million links. Linked is a story of evolving relationships, a reckoning with the past, and a fascinating read. Congratulations, Gordon. We welcome you to accept this award.
Thank you. Linked never would have been possible without the students of Whitwell Middle School in Whitwell, Tennessee, the famous Paperclip school. Kids from the middle of Tennessee, a rural place with a terrible record on human rights and racism. It's the county where the KKK was first formed. In the middle of a Holocaust unit, they asked a question that to me today is still absolutely brilliant, which is, we all know what 6 million is. We all know it's a very large number. Have any of us actually seen what 6 million of something looked like? And they decided that they would never really understand the massive atrocity of the Holocaust without understanding 6 million. And they set out to collect 6 million paper clips. They succeeded. I believe they ended up with over 30 million. And their project is now a nationally and internationally recognized memorial to the Holocaust. In Linked, a school responds to racist vandalism, anti-Semitic vandalism, by attempting to make a paper chain 6 million links long, over 300 miles by my calculations, and it never would have been possible without the inspiration of those inspired and, I think, brilliant kids in Tennessee. Thank you so much to the Jewish Book Council for this honor for Linked.
This year's Modern Jewish Thought and Experience Dorot Foundation Award, in memory of Joy Ungerleider Meyerson, goes to Erin Leib Smokler for her book, Torah in a Time of Plague. The author brings together in this book a wide range of ancient and modern resources of Jewish wisdom in the fields of theology, philosophy, history, liturgy, and more that are profoundly relevant to the challenges confronting us in our time of plague. As our judges note, this book captures sharp thinking about Torah and human experience in a way that both informs and nourishes. Congratulations to Erin Leib Smokler for this important book and significant prize.
On March 3rd, 2020, my family's COVID story began when buses from SIR Academy, my son's school, were turned back and our months-long quarantine began. We left our home in New York City for 5 days and stayed for 7 months in the beautiful countryside of Berkshire County. During that time, we struggled like everybody did. We struggled with illness, we struggled with loneliness, and we struggled with the existential anxiety that the pandemic wrought. And in that place of isolation, I needed a project. I needed a project for selfish reasons, and I needed a project for selfless reasons. I was desperate to understand how my friends, colleagues, and all the many people I admire were making their way through this time period. And I also very much wanted to be of service, to give voice to others, and to be, if I dare say, a kind of living archive for the experience that we were all going through. And so I reached out to those people in the hopes that we might join together in a community of thinkers, writers, rabbis, leaders, etc., as we struggled personally and professionally, communally, with our lot. And so Torah in a Time of Plague was born. I'm so grateful to the 21 writers who are collected in this book and who share this award tonight, for coming together, for having the presence of mind to be able to produce in the midst of panic, really, what I hope will be something for the generations. We know that traumas echo against traumas. And so as we listen to today's news, we know that the story of those suffering in Ukraine now echo against the suffering of our ancestors in the Ukraine. And we know that our own story of pandemic echoes against pandemics of the past. This book is a record of that, and it is also an occasion for further reckoning with it. I hope that it serves both to hold and to heal this experience for many. Thank you so much.
Good evening. I'm truly honored to present the winner of the Beru Poetry Award in memory of Ruth and Bernie Weinflash, Joy Layden's The Book of Anna, which takes readers on an unforgettable journey of poetry and prose. Anna's history is a history of ashes sorted into skeletons and skins, Sonderkommandos, Rebbitzins. Anna's God is a child's God of grapes and summer thunder, unexpected drops of rain, distant adult laughter. A book that emerged from the author's suffering as a closeted trans person stands in the end as a stubborn refusal to give up on civilization, community, or humanity. Congratulations, Joy, on this recognition of your deeply moving work.
Thank you so much. Thank you to the Jewish Book Council. The Book of Anna started when I heard a voice in my head. I just finished a poetry MFA, and I was sick of the way I wrote. Then why don't you write like someone else, a voice asked. Like who, I answered, and to my surprise, Anna's name and a few biographical facts appeared in my mind. The next morning, knowing only that Anna was a Czech-German Jewish poet living in Prague in the 1950s and had survived a concentration camp, I found her first words pouring onto the page. That made me think writing as Anna would be easy, but it took years for me to learn who she was, what she'd gone through, and how to write the way she insisted her life be written. Anna isn't me. She's smarter, braver, more vicious, and a much better poet. But as Anna wrote her way toward life, she was helping me figure out mine, helping me make sense of the female gender identification I'd been afraid to reveal since early childhood. Anna exploded the stereotypes of femininity I'd grown up with and taught me that being a woman means having the courage to be exactly who you are. To give you a taste of Anna's voice, here's an excerpt from a poem called Golem, in which Anna addresses Yassel, her name for the golem created, legend tells us, by Rabbi Judah Low of Prague. Think of it, Yassel. Adam, God's own golem, face down on the face of the deep. The moment before the moment, the first soul became the last act of creation. Golem, a breath away from humanness, a crack in the ontological curtain behind which God dresses for redemption, slapping his cheeks with cologne. It's spring, blood libel season. Judah Low intones a name of God composed of 400 years of humiliation, takes a sharpened instrument, a screw, and scores a word in your forehead. Met, truth, with death inside it. Thank you so much.
Our judges call her book a scholarly tour de force, as she documents how ancient Jewish thinkers responded to the challenges that pagan Rome and its ideology posed to world Jewry. In her book, Bertha Lowe argues that pagan Rome presented a unique threat to Judaism because of its similarities to Judaism, and how those similarities caused specific anxieties and stressors as they engaged with each other. This book is detailed and thoughtful, an exceptional addition to the Jewish literary canon. Congratulations to Cattell on her amazing work.
It is a great honor to receive this award. The project of this book came to my mind while I was reading the work of Philo of Alexandria, a first-century Jewish philosopher and exegete. I was struck by the way Philo used the pair Greeks and barbarians to refer to humankind as a whole, even though he did not seem to include the Jews in any of these categories. He was using a Greek dichotomy that reflected a Greek sense of superiority, but at the same time, he also profoundly subverted it. Later on, I found out that the Romans did not fit neatly in the Greek barbarian division of humankind either. Even though some ancient authors played with the notion of the Romans' Greek origins, Romans emphasized that they were neither Greeks nor barbarians, the same positioning that Philo claimed for Jews. In short, there is a surprising parallel between the ways some Jewish and Roman intellectuals at the beginning of the Roman era reflected on their people's place in a world still dominated by Hellenistic cultural paradigms. This discovery prompted me to investigate further the relationship between the Jews and the Romans, and to pay attention to other paradoxical similarities in the respective self-representations of these two peoples. And this is how the research project that led to my book was born.
I am so pleased to be able to honor Daniela Flessler and Adrian Perez Melgosa, authors of The Memory Work of Jewish Spain, who take home tonight's Mimi S. Frank Sephardic Cultural Award in memory of Becky Levy. Their book explores recent political and cultural practices in Spain, set in the context of the 2015 Spanish law that offered citizenship to Sephardic Jews and their descendants across the globe. Our judges note that the book adds new dimensions to the tensions and contradictions inherent in Spain's effort to make sense of its Jewish past and present. This book is well-researched, thought-provoking, and a necessary addition to the study of Sephardic culture. Congratulations to you both.
Thank you, Jewish Book Council, for this wonderful recognition. About 18 years ago, at a stop for gas on a car trip from Barcelona to Burgos, Adrián found a tourist brochure announcing that a small city not too far from where we were was opening a new museum exploring its local Jewish heritage. Soon we realized that this reclaiming of a Jewish past was taking place throughout Spain as towns and cities excavated sites, researched new facets of their history, and celebrated Jewish-themed festivals, partaking in their particular way of a transnational phenomenon. The book follows our travels through time and space to visit such sites and explore social initiatives and cultural processes connected to Spain's re-encounters with its Jewish memory.
Well, at first sight, these initiatives come across as tourist traps or political maneuvers driven by economic opportunism. Yet, as they try to make sense of a difficult past and make it available for people to rethink about it, they also have the potential of a memory work that opens up more complex histories about personal, local, regional, and national identities. And they also contribute to the imagining of better futures. And that's what our book explores, the alternatives.
Thank you.
I'm delighted to honor Judy Battalion as the winner of the 2021 Women's Studies Barbara Dobkin Award. Your well-researched book, The Light of Days, vividly illuminates the courageous dedication and highly dangerous work of large numbers of Jewish teenage girls and young women from different affiliations and backgrounds who resisted their Nazi oppressors. In their roles as saboteurs, fighters, couriers, and rescuers of countless other Jews, both inside and outside the Polish ghettos of World War II and across Aryan lines, they risked death on a daily basis. Thank you, Judy, for bringing these inspiring and remarkable stories of female resistance and heroism during the Holocaust to our attention through your important book. Congratulations.
About 15 years ago, I began contemplating how trauma trickles through generations. I'm the granddaughter of Holocaust survivors, and I'm a very anxious person. Had my Holocaust heritage shaped how I reacted to everyday dangers? Researching this at the British Library, I happened to come across an old, dusty Yiddish book. I also happened to speak Yiddish. Frauen in die Ghettos told stories of dozens of young Jewish women who defied the Nazis from the ghettos in Poland. Guns, grenades, sabotage. I'd never heard anything like this. These ghetto girls hid revolvers and teddy bears and shot Gestapo men. They smuggled false papers and dynamite. They organized soup kitchens and underground schools. They flung Molotov cocktails and blew up Nazi supply trains. They brought ghetto Jews information and hope. Working together, these young women and teenage girls risked their lives in the fight for justice, liberty, and dignity. I am so humbled to have shared this story of Jewish female courage, conviction, and audacity in the Light of Days, and am profoundly honored to receive this award in women's studies, which I accept on behalf of these freedom fighters, our foremothers. May their memory be a blessing and an inspiration for us, especially today. Thank you, und seid gesund und stark.
Our next winner is Jacqueline Granick, who has won the JDC Herbert Katsky Award for writing based on archival material for her book, International Jewish Humanitarianism in the Age of the Great War. In this work, Granick describes how World War I's destruction transformed Jewish humanitarian activism, arguing that understanding the roles of the American Jewish Joint Distribution Committee and the Hebrew Immigrant Aid Society is central to the larger understanding of Jewish history in the 20th century and did nothing less than revolutionize social policy. It details Granick's deep research in archives around the world and depicts how American Jewish funders worked with experts in Europe to rebuild Jewish life in war-torn regions. We're thrilled to present this award to Jacqueline.
Thank you. In the First World War, Jews experienced anti-Jewish violence, including pogroms, mass rape, destruction of property, and deportation, plus general hunger, cold, and illness. European empires imploded and formed into nation-states, catching Jews in the crossfire of Russia's Revolution and Civil War, the Polish-Soviet War, and the Ottoman Empire's collapse. 7 million Jews bore the brunt of the violence, which caused untold Jewish deaths, several 100,000 from pogroms alone, displaced more than 1 million Jewish refugees, created tens of thousands of Jewish war orphans, and destroyed the shtetl. In response, American Jews drew on U.S. neutrality to build the Joint Distribution Committee, sending experts and millions of dollars overseas. They provided crucial social welfare programs in the war zones for refugees and children, and in public health, reconstruction, and cooperative microfinance. Yet it was not enough to lift millions of Jews out of poverty or provide them solutions to the socio-political problems in their new states. This languishing evolved into the Holocaust. The First World War has been unjustly forgotten in Jewish history. My research took me to archives in the US, Europe, and Israel, as I pieced together thousands of archival documents to recover this incredible story of how American Jews took on international leadership for the first time. This history shaped the way Jews think about diaspora solidarity and international philanthropy, from the First World War through the Holocaust and in today's Ukraine crisis.
We are pleased to present the 2021 National Jewish Book Award in the category of Young Adult Literature to Lori Bana Kaufman for her novel, Rebel Daughter. Rebel Daughter is a remarkably researched and imagined story about Esther, a 14-year-old girl living in Jerusalem in 66 CE who finds herself at the center of multiple struggles. Esther and her story are made timeless by her resistance to injustice, intellectual and emotional curiosity, willingness to fight for her family and herself, and vast capacity to love. We are proud to celebrate your debut novel, Lori.
The inspiration for Rebel Daughter came from an amazing archaeological discovery, the 2,000-year-old gravestone of a Jewish woman found in southern Italy. She'd been captured after the fall of the Second Temple, sold as a slave in Rome, and freed by her owner, who fell in love with her. So as soon as I heard about this unlikely love story, I wanted to know more. How did a Jewish woman and a Roman man whose nations were fierce enemies find each other and fall in love? And then there were the bigger historical questions too. Why did first century Jews who lived in a small, remote province, Judea, on the eastern edge of the Roman Empire, with no army, why did they declare war on Rome with its hundreds of thousands of well-trained soldiers? So these were the questions that captivated me and took me on a more than 10-year journey with some of the world's leading scholars and archaeologists. I wanted to portray this time as accurately as possible. And I also wanted to breathe life into a very wide cast of real historical figures, including Josephus. So the result is Rebel Daughter, which transports the reader back in time to one of the most momentous events, not only in Jewish history, but in all of human history. Thank you for this award. It's thrilling to be here.
We're so pleased to present Bonnie Fetterman with the Mentorship Award in honor of Carolyn Starman Hessel, the former director of Jewish Book Council for more than 20 years. Bonnie has been a dedicated editor and mentor in the field of Jewish literature for more than 4 decades. As a senior editor and director of Judaica at Schocken Books in the early 80s and 90s, Bonnie developed a list of influential books on the Bible, Jewish history, Holocaust Studies, and Hebrew and Yiddish Literature in Translation, and early works of Jewish feminism. These books are the very backbone of university courses and home libraries. She's worked on new translations of books by Martin Buber and Gershon Shalom, as well as contributing her talents to the works of Lucy Davidowitz, Ruth Weiss, and so many more. Bonnie served as the literary editor of Reform Judaism magazine for 12 years. She continues her work today as an independent editor, agent, and publishing consultant. One of our judges said, Bonnie's brilliance and dedication to the publication of Jewish books is legendary. Her contributions to Jewish literature cannot be overstated. Bonnie, thank you for your work and congratulations.
Thank you so much. I'd like to thank the Jewish Book Council for this award named for Carolyn Hessel. I am deeply honored to be recognized for mentoring, something at which Carolyn excelled. For most of us in Jewish book publishing, it's more than a job, it's a calling. In my college years, I wanted to learn more about my Jewish heritage, but there were no courses in Jewish studies at my university at that time. Instead, I read Schocken books. After graduation, I went directly to their offices and told them, I have to work here. Fortunately, Ted Schocken gave me a chance. My 40-year career in publishing began with Schocken, with time out for graduate school in Jewish studies at Brandeis. When the company was sold to Random House, I continued as senior editor, publishing many books that are now Jewish classics, such as Bialik's Book of Legends. For the past 20 years, I've been working with authors as an independent editor, helping them develop and place their books. To be an editor is to be a mentor. All my experience comes into play, having sat in the publisher's seat, in the book critic's seat, and now sitting side by side with authors as a trusted co-pilot. I'm proud of my authors and the books they've added to the Jewish bookshelf. Thank you for this award.
In memory of Sarah Berenson Stone, our final honor tonight goes to the winner of the Everett Family Foundation Book of the Year Award and Biography Award, to Devorah HaKohen for her book To Repair a Broken World, The Life of Henrietta Zold, founder of Hadassah. Through diaries, documents, and letters, historian Devorah presents a fascinating biography of an astounding woman. Among her accomplishments, Zold worked as the first editor of the Jewish Publication Society, opened the first night language school for new immigrants, brought thousands of refugee children to safety in Palestine through Youth Aliyah, and was a founder of Hadassah and its medical programs. HaKohen portrays the relentless passion of Zold, who devoted her life to creating opportunities both for Jewish women and also for the disadvantaged. As the author asks at the end of the book, reflecting on our current time, where social, culture, and economic standards have been shattered and political divides have become cultural, what would Henrietta Zold do to repair our current broken world? I'm really so pleased tonight to welcome our winner, Devorah HaKohen.
Henrietta Zold, one Jewish woman, seemed fragile in a tough world of strong men, became a heroine and a role model for Tikkun Olam and for all of us, a model of one person, passionate to repair a broken world. While working on my research on Youth Aliyah, I encountered Henrietta Zold, an amazing woman who established Youth Aliyah, an enterprise that rescued 30,000 children from the clutches of the Nazis during the Holocaust. Zold educated them and looked after each of them. Eager to gain a better understanding of her personality, I learned how much more Zold had accomplished. She launched night schools for immigrants in America. She went to Palestine to lay the foundations for a modern healthcare, and over the years became involved there in education, social work, and much more. But above all, I discovered a rare personality, a leader, a mentor, a visionary. I found myself fascinated by her amazing and unbelievable life. I wanted to capture her life story and was captivated by her charm. When I set out on my journey, I thought I'd be writing about one woman. Then I found myself writing 5 biographies, all of them about one woman. Sold remarked, I didn't choose tasks, they came to me. Once she said, it seems to me I have lived not one life, but several, each one bearing its own character and insignia. In archives and libraries, among mountains of documents, my research gave me the rare privilege of meeting and corresponding with extraordinary people. First and foremost of all was Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. She told me that all her life she was inspired by Henrietta Szold. Justice Ginsburg once remarked, if you want to become a real professional, do not focus on your personal achievements. Dedicate your time also for the benefit of your community. This gives life and meaning and dignity. This is our mission, this is our challenge. This is also the objective of Jewish Book Council, promoting Jewish culture in the footsteps of our great leaders and mentors. Learning our great heritage of the past, implementing its values in the present, ensuring the continuation and development of the Jewish community in the future. Thank you all. God bless you.
It's an honor to wrap up this ceremony and reflect for a moment on the breadth and depth of what the Jewish literary community has to offer. Tonight, we've met authors who are just starting out and those who are well established. Authors long celebrated for their contributions to the Jewish literary canon and others who made their names in the secular arena and now turn to explore some aspect of their work that intersects with the Jewish world. We see fiction, poetry, children's books, and books that encourage us to encounter our modern world in new and insightful ways. We see books for readers who want to delve more deeply into their Jewish heritage and those who want to use their reading time to examine the interplay between their Judaism and their secular lives. It's truly a feast of intellectual exploration, personal growth, and just plain fun. The National Jewish Book Awards have been given since 1950, and the JBC itself was founded in 1944, all in service of promoting and celebrating Jewish literary accomplishment. Each year, we gather to do just that. It's a highlight of the year for those of us who spend our days building up the world of Jewish writing. So let me urge you to support and participate in the work of the JBC. There are programs for each of us personally and for our communities. Projects like Paper Brigade, the JBC Author Network, writers' seminars, book clubs, our newsletter and reviews. Participate, and in doing so, help JBC thrive and grow. And most importantly, let me offer a toast to the marvelous, beautiful work that has been created this year by all those who are recognized tonight, to the work that is yet to come next year, and in all the years that follow. Have a good night.